Some people are handed a blueprint for life. Immigrant hustle, small town ceilings, expectations set in stone. But these two, they chose to rewrite it. Building experience in real estate and in life. Chris Andrade and Antonio Henriquez are here to share the stories that prove what's possible. Real stories, real strategies, real impact. This is Rewrite the Legacy.
All right, guys, welcome to Rewrite the Legacy, episode number 2. And boy, we're excited to have you guys checking in with us. Episode 1 was a great first episode. We had really good feedback from you guys. And by the way, if you're not already following us on Instagram at Rewrite the Legacy Podcast, we put up a story last week asking our users some questions that you guys want us to talk about on the show. And of course, we want this to be interactive. We are going to have some guests coming up in the upcoming weeks. You guys will be able to check that out. But for this episode, we really want to engage with you guys and kind of get some feedback. And we got a bunch of questions. We narrowed it down to 4. Again, we want to keep this as a shorter podcast, not making it too long. And one of the questions we received is, we'll start at number 1. So what part of the business did you hate but had to master in order to grow? Especially in real estate. I think there's a couple moving pieces to this. If you want to kick it off.
That's a good one. That's a good one. There's for me personally, there's a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different situations that I really hated, but I had to master to grow. I think one that stands out in my mind definitely is having the ability to give people the bad news that they didn't want to hear. Either an offer not accepted, either there's something wrong with the home inspection, either I don't think it appraised, I don't think it's a proper investment, and being able to have the ability and the confidence to let them know that bad news, ripping off the Band-Aid. Yeah, the tough conversation that definitely comes with this business. One of the ones that sticks out to me, and I started this when I was 19, and I hated calling people on the phone. I hated it. I did it. I remember like picking up the phone in the office and the landline that they had there, and I used to hate calling people. That was my worst thing. You could hear it in my voice. I was nervous. You're like, what are they going to pick up? Especially doing cold calls. And I think the phone's kind of your first thing people hear is when you call them is your tone and how you sound, how you carry yourself. And I think for me, in the beginning, the phone calls was one of the toughest things I ever had to do. Calling agents and clients and cold calling leads. So I think that's one of the key things in this business that I had to master was the phone and just being able to dial out in and have a really, really good conversation, sound professional, etc. So that was a really good question for one of our viewers out there. The second one we got that really interesting, and this one we can really dive in deeper. It's not really industry specific, so it's going to allow us to kind of charter different waters here. But is it ever too late to start a business? I'm in my 50s, stuck in a job I hate, but I'm scared to take the leap. You want to answer that one? You want to go off, and then I'll let you know what I think?
Yeah, I mean, so starting a business depends what is the business, right? Is it something you're passionate about? I've started many businesses over, I'd say, probably the last 10, 15 years. I think, is it ever too late? No, but also the research I think is key, right? What type of industry are you going to? I think really everyone wants to just be a business owner and jump in and be a CEO and say they own a company. I think it first goes into research, right? Look up what's out there, what other companies exist, what's your competition, is it viable? Really do your due diligence. And at that point, if there's a need for it, then at that point you start assembling, getting feedback, and then start putting together what needs to be done and putting out feelers. Don't go investing a ton of money. I believe in the lean startup. There's a really good book about the lean startup and applies to business. And running in the beginning as lean as possible, get it up off the ground, and eventually see if it's something viable. I wouldn't say leave your corporate job the next day. I'd say research it, start it, and then from there start scaling it. Maybe start it, again, it depends on what the business is. If you want to open up a food truck, for example, at that point you research and see how much the truck's going to cost and the investment. Bottom line is, do I think it's ever too late? No, because even if you're 50, 60, 70 years old, these people that retire from corporate jobs and they jump into opening up a business. So I think the key thing I would touch upon is really do your research. Find out, is this viable? Is this something I could really grow and scale? And are you passionate about it? a lot of these businesses, and I know you're going to drive your point across too, and a lot of these business people say, oh, passion. Yes, you got to somewhat enjoy what you do, because if you're miserable, it's going to feel like you're better off working than 9 to 5, honestly, than starting the business. Yeah. So I'd say be passionate. Is it something you're really interested in? Is there a need for it? Do your research, and then start scaling it up and eventually make that leap once the business can essentially replace what you're making at your 9 to 5. What would you say, Adam, upon that? Is it ever, let me restart the question. It said, is it ever too late to start a business? They're 50 years old. They're stuck at a job they hate, but they're scared to take the leap.
Look, one of the reasons why I like working with you is because you're very research based. You put all the systems. You think a lot before you action, which I'm to that point at a certain extent, I think. But I'm also the point. I follow my passion. I'm just all about that. If this person's been thinking about it for a while, I don't know how long they've been at their job. I definitely do not think you're too old to start a business. You're never too old to start a business.
What do they say about age? Age is just a number.
Age ain't nothing but a number, right?
Yeah.
So you're just because you're 50, even if you're 60, you're not too old to start any business. If that's your passion, go for it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You fail, then you learn.
Yeah.
Or you fail, and then you learn what you did wrong. So regardless of how old you are, I mean, me personally, yes, do your research, but don't keep delaying your decision, because that's probably what this person did. And obviously I don't know the situation, if they have kids, if they have a spouse, like what the story is. But the point is, to answer the question, it's never too late. Do your research, but just take action, run with it. Run with it. Stop thinking about it. Follow the passion.
You touched upon something shortly about taking action, and I've come across a lot of different personalities. Some people are so analytical. Oof. They were literally like they're like in quicksand. They can never make a decision. They're stuck on the move. And I'm married to a very analytical woman. God bless her, but she needed that push. And I think, like you said, is you got to take that leap. Action is the key thing. And we talked a lot about purpose off the podcast. And I truly believe when you are taking action, you will find your purpose. You may think you may start at one business and, hey, this is a great business. And as you're doing it, you may say, oh, this is an even better one. So I think taking action is a key thing you talked about. I want to let that off.
Just make the decision. Like, be a decision maker. It's all going to sound scary. It all feels scary. It's supposed to be. It's something new. But you're not living unless you make a decision. If you sit back on the sidelines, there's going to be other people doing moves that you should have been doing, but you didn't do it because you weren't a decision maker.
Yeah.
And that's a very bad trait to have, is not being able to make a decision, because you're going to be missing out on opportunities, missing out on certain things because you cannot make a decision.
Yeah.
Just go with it, run with it, learn from it.
Yeah, and it's nothing worse. I mean, you probably seen it, like, you again with the internet now, you get essentially an inside everybody's best side, right? Everyone posts the best, and we talk about not comparing yourself, but it's very hard not to go on the internet and say, oh, this person just started their business, and oh, maybe they're doing really well, but eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. You're going to be sick of whatever the situation is, and that's what this really podcast is about. It's about rewriting that story, rewriting that legacy, and you got to take action. It may not. Sometimes people, just like in real estate, you got to get kicked in the crotch a few times before you actually decide to take action. So the bottom line is, whether you're 50 years old, I mean, you could wait till you're 60. It's not going to make a difference. You're going to be 10 years older. You're going to be upset that you didn't make a decision. And the reality is, even if you do fail, there's so many lessons and things you learn throughout failures in life, relationships, businesses, that you're going to remember never to do again. It's a hard lesson. Yep. But that's what really shapes you as a person, and I especially professionally, we make tons of mistakes, in the business, and that helps us. We learn. Some people don't learn the lessons. You learn.
You definitely learn how to perfect your craft is by making mistakes, especially in this business. Especially, you just have to be able to have the ability to not be fearful and do what you want. I mean, if their passion is to open up a business or go off on a different workforce work decision, do it. Because at the end of the day, what's the worst that's going to happen? Obviously, every situation is different, but the only decision that you're going to regret is not doing it, because you're always going to think about it.
That's true.
Make the decision.
You're going to dwell on it.
Just do it.
You're going to be sleeping like, who cares? And speaking about businesses, I mean, what would you say is one of the hardest parts? Because let's just say they do take the leap. The hardest part about owning a business, like, again, when you're self-employed, you got the same 24 hours everyone else does, right? We talk a lot about time and different things like that in different shows, but what would you say in your experience being an agent for about a decade, what is the hardest part about owning a business?
The time. Personal time, the time. I think for me, there's not enough hours in the day. You know, we've been in the office. We work together a lot. 8 a.m. As soon as you know, you're looking at your clock. It's already 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
it flies by. You have to put systems in place, put procedures in place, put things in place where it's a system. Create whatever works for you. Just because it works for, you know, Sally and Bobby and Joey doesn't work for you.
For sure.
So, you know, people pay all this money for courses to teach them how to run a business when all you have to do is really start your business, figure out what your strengths, what your weaknesses are, write them down, and then just start doing it. Just get into it. Because what you don't want to do is not get into it because you're thinking about all these different things. Just get into it. You'll figure it out as you go. And then once you figure it out, put systems in place, you know, set up a schedule, and stick to that schedule Monday through Friday. Obviously, things are going to come in all the time, curveballs and stuff like that. Address them as they come in, but stick to that schedule. For me personally, that I would say, as long it's the time, it's a lot of time that people that I've actually wasted in the beginning of my career doing so many different things and not having that system in place. Just have a system put in place and stay dedicated to that system. So if you have to make calls from 9 to 10, that's Monday through Friday, and that's what works for you. Stick to that.
It's a discipline too, because the discipline is really what it boils down to. Because it's you and yourself every single day. And that brings up to my second point. I think owning a business is also people, having the right people around you. And I think to grow, I mean, you can only get so far as one person in systems, depending on the business, of course. I think people's key, and us working together, obviously we've really grown the business in such, you know, the last few months together, which is a huge part. It's the systems, it's the people, and having the right people around you too, because you and I touch a lot about, you know,
that's
different.
Totally true, 100%.
Yeah, that's a big part of this. One of the questions I want to touch upon, this will be the third question. We got a bunch, but out of the four, I think this is strong here. So it says, I'm 18. My parents are paying for law school. So that, you know, it can't be cheap. So you got your parents paying for law school, but I've lost all passion for it. How do I tell them I want to do something else? So there's nothing worse than knowing someone else, at least the fact that they realize their parents are paying for law school. So that's a lot of pressure, right? You have a lot of people, you know, you have your legacy, your family, you have money at stake, but you have no passion for it at all. I mean, they're 18 years old, right? You got your whole life ahead of you. I think at 18, you're at the beginning stages of college, right? Because you graduate high school at 18. So there's always time to pivot. I think the biggest thing is pivoting. Keep getting your regular classes in. Do your core classes. I'm not a college grad, but do your core classes. But I think you really got to do research and kind of see what that route looks like. Because me personally, you know, I was in school for a couple of days in college, and I already knew. I saw this stuff adding up, and then I started looking at the jobs. I'm a big person on reverse engineering. What are you looking to get into? What does that pay? How long is it going to take me to get that job? Okay, how long is school going to take? How much is that going to cost you? That's the way I work. I like reverse engineering. So realistically, if you're looking, you're not passionate about it, see what you're passionate about and reverse engineer it. Like, what does that look like? What does the pay look like? Am I going to spend my parents will spend $250,000 in school. What am I going to make as a salary? 60 for how long? So I think that's really important, is figuring out what your passion is, and then start doing research. And again, back to the action part. When you take action, you start going into a couple courses. You may say, hey, I really like graphic design. I've been doing a lot with computers. So I think that taking the action part, seeing your passions and reverse engineering that all the way back down to, hey, is this a good return on my time and my investment? That's how I would approach that. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's a hard decision to make. I mean, when I was 18, you know, I changed my mind a lot about school and about workforce and everything. Listen, you're an adult, but technically you're still young.
Oh, yeah.
And you need the wisdom of different people and adults, and listen to them, see what their advice is. I also feel like it would really benefit that person to do some internships, go to some seminars and some networking events that have lawyers in that particular area of law that you want to practice in. Learn from them, talk to them, figure out their, you know, pros and cons from their mindset. Don't believe just one person. Talk to a lot of people, get a lot of different ideas, and figure it out. Because if your parents are saving for you to go to law school and willing to pay for that's a big discipline for not only the parents, but it's rewarding for the student. So right now that person probably feels a certain type of way. Maybe they're just losing passion. It's normal to lose your passion. I mean, every single year, things change. Things change from 20 in a day. So it's okay to feel that way. Maybe they're having a hard time with school, or maybe they're having a hard time with advice that they're getting. But give it some time before you make that final decision of telling your parents. You know what I mean? Don't just tell them just because it's the heat of the moment. Give it some time. Talk to the right people. Give it a few months, and then have a sit down conversation with them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's very easy to be impulsive and be like, I just want to do this and pull the plug. Yeah. But like you said, give it some time. There's a reason why you even thought about getting into that career. What about it that you really like about law? I mean, law is great. If I could go back, we always talk about this. I really love law. I think law
we talked about that.
Yeah, it's just, again,
it's no. Would have been a great lawyer, man.
I hear this guy on the phone. I'm like, man, he sounds like a Wall Street bully lawyer.
Yeah, no.
Ready to go to work.
Not that bad.
Nah, you're good to work with.
You got to hear yourself, because I hear you.
Yeah, no, for
Pretty
sure.
aggressive.
Yeah, listen, I mean, those are all really, really great questions. Like I said, we really appreciate everyone submitting these questions. And we're going to we have one last question here that I want to say for last, because it's a lot about foundational and beliefs and things we were told and different scenarios like that. And one of the questions here is, what belief did you have early on that turned out to be completely wrong? And early on is a lot. That's a couple parts of that question, right? Because you talk about 18 years old. When you're 18, you think you already know what you know, but being now almost 10 plus years older, I mean, I'm almost 30, and what you think at 18 years old is your mind's not there. But as far as beliefs, I think that question has a couple moving pieces. So it says,
it's a good question.
Really good.
That's a really good question.
And it says, what belief did you have early on? Not what somebody told you. So, I mean, early on,
and not industry related, right?
Nah, I mean, we could end in non-industry related on this question. So, a belief that I had personally early on was, again, this concept with money. I think that was my biggest thing, my belief. I grew up with a single mother, and I saw money. Everything we did was involved around money. And I always remembered being, oh man, like, we can't have fun, we can't do anything unless we got money and the ability to do things. And when you're younger, you get creative, you don't have the money. But I think that was a big misconception getting older. And yes, it's the lack of money limits your experience, but I believe that just because of not having money, you could still obviously enjoy yourself. But I think money is a crucial piece. And when I got older, I said, oh man, like I have to start really providing. Now getting older, I don't like putting money as a limitation to do anything. If I want to enjoy myself, obviously you got to budget, be smart, to over leverage. But I think really,
there's other things you can do besides it just being factored in back to money. You know what I mean? So that was the culture and your upbringing to that. I relate to that in a certain aspect as well. I mean, for me, one of the biggest things that I thought were, I mean, to be very candid with you, was that all rich people were bad. Anyone with money and nice cars and big houses,
they rob somebody.
Like something. They're doing something wrong. What are they doing? That they got, that was just what I believed, you know, because that's what you kind of that's the fabric of the neighborhood. That's what they want you to believe, and that's totally, totally untrue. People make different decisions. People have different, it's not even education. It's just people make different decisions. They have different circumstances and that sort of thing. It does not mean that they're evil or they're robbing someone or they're making the wrong decisions. No. So that was the biggest misconception I had growing up.
And it's rewiring yourself. It's rewiring your thinking. That's why we have this show. And our next guest, our next episode that we're going to have, you guys will be able to check out the preview at the end of this podcast. And we're bringing our goal each and every single episode is getting people on here who had that thought and took action on it. What was it that triggered them to say, hey, I want to rewrite my path? Is it because they're unpassionate about it? Was it a circumstantial thing? And just going through their mind, because we want you guys, the viewers, to really either say, hey, man, that person sounds just like me, and be able to take action, take the steps you need to make that change and rewrite your path. And that's the beauty about life. And and freedom and being able to make those decisions. But like we said, it's not overthinking. It's not, it's about taking that action. And I cannot wait to see, what we have in future episodes, and hopefully can inspire others to rewrite their legacy and do something that they never thought they can do.
Yeah, no, fear is not being able to make a decision is a paralyzing fear. That will destroy you, right? You have to be able to make a decision. And a lot of people, especially that we're going to have on, which I'm super, super excited to feature. I can't wait to have them on, especially our next one, is that they chose to rewrite their entire legacy, rewire their entire thinking, especially after decades and decades of being conditioned to believe a couple of different things. And this, you have to be able to make that decision that you want to change, surround yourself around a lot of good people that want the best for you and like-minded people. And we talk about this, I say it all the time: less egos and more results. Help each other, because you can go so far into higher levels. And it's all rewiring your thinking, rewrite that legacy. Doesn't matter if you're 50 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, anyone can do it because we've done it.
And one last thing, I want to end it because you just sparked a thought in my head. What's the trick to finding good people? Right? Because you're good at, you got that sense. Is it the gut? Like what again, somebody wants to maybe figure out the right business partner or the right friendship or the right relationship. I mean, there's so much that goes into partnership. I got a good one
with that. That's a good question.
What is it?
You keep giving me these daggers, man. Like legit on air. How do you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you how you know.
What's the trick?
You know how you know people want the best for you?
How?
Start a business. Wait. Start a business, right? Everyone congratulates you, right? Over the phone, text messages, right?
Yeah.
But start a business and launch it on social media. And tell me, who supports it? Who really publicly supports it? Who will do things without you even having to ask? I'm surprised. When I started real estate, the amount of support from people that I didn't know was far greater than support I thought I had from other people. Now that everything... Listen, nobody wants to... Listen, there's a saying I heard, especially when I got into this. No one wants to ride... A lot of people don't want to ride with you on the bus to get where you're going. But they're sure as hell will hop into your limo when you're riding in the limo, right?
Yeah.
You got to select people that are willing to take that bus ride with you when you have no car. Those are your true friends. Yeah. So if I can give any piece of advice, how do you know who your people are? Start a business. Launch an idea. You'll know right away.
Yeah.
Because it's going to, obviously some people will give you advice. Yeah, I'm great. I'm happy for you. That's great. You should do. Other people, not so much. And listen, everyone gives you advice based on their decisions and based on what they would do personally. So you can't take everyone's decision. So that's another advice for another day. But always take advice from people that are actually doing what you want to do.
100%.
Because I used to ask everyone for advice on a decision when I want to go real estate. What do you think? What do you think? You're younger, you don't really know. But yeah, start a business, see who supports you. And you're going to know right away.
Strong.
You're going to know right away.
And people show support. They reach out to, they like your post, they comment, they say, they're
comment,
engaged.
they share it. You don't even have to ask them. It's like, what can we do? We got these mugs from one of our really, really good sponsors, and it was so nice. We didn't even expect it. Like it was something that was just nice. No gift cards. Like it's stuff that you don't even think. Like they're actually excited for us, and that's one thing that I'd never forget. And even when I got into business, and you said the same thing, you just never forgot the main people supported you.
And you got to cherish those relationships. And what are those grasses and maintain those relationships, because the people who show up for you got to show back for them too. Remember, a relationship's two-sided. It's not always one-sided.
That's right.
100%.
If they're not willing to ride with you on that bus, they don't need a ride with you in the limo.
Yeah,
keep them where they're at. So
100%.
Definitely open up your own business, start promoting it, and then just sit back and watch and see who really supports you. Definitely.
100%. All right. That was
Fried up,
amazing.
baby.
Amazing,
Friday
baby.
up.
Hope you guys had a great value from that episode number 2 of Rewrite the Legacy Podcast. If you already don't follow us on social media, check us out at Rewrite the Legacy Podcast. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. We are streaming everywhere. Like and comment these videos and our posts because, again, the engagement, the algorithm helps us, and we love engaging with you guys as well.
And thank you all for the support. I mean, episode 1 was something that we launched. We've been working really hard behind it. This took, I can't even sit here and explain to you guys, almost a year in the making, all the production that's behind it, the PR, the management, the people that are involved behind the scenes that we're going to showcase one of these days.
Yeah.
But there's so many groups of people involved. But thank you definitely to all the people who helped us, who supported the video, the first episode. And we're going to have some amazing guests and content coming up. And we're just getting started. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much to everyone who supported so far.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Today's guest is one of those voices. He's voiced ads for brands like Discover Card, Breitling, VRBO, Heineken, BetMGM, The Economist, and he's also the voice of Webster Hall, one of New York's most iconic venues for 8 years straight. Beyond that, he's a respected DJ, MC, voiceover artist, and mentor, and someone who's been a leader in both the live event space and in the world of production. And for me personally, he's one of the first people who opened my eyes up to the power of sound and production and doing it the right way. It's a full circle moment, guys. We're so excited to have him on the show. Please welcome.
Real stories, real strategies, real impact. This has been Rewrite the Legacy with Chris and Antonio, available on all podcast platforms. Follow on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify at Rewrite the Legacy Podcast.